you was not in the ambulance with my son.
Chris got through the fight.
He was touch and go in the ambulance.
Well, this doesn't look good on you as the father allowing this to go ahead then, surely.
I think the sport's getting too safe.
Do you want this fight to happen or not?
Okay, you're talking to me about that.
Because that's what we're here to discuss.
This is the king here.
Hard to argue against that.
I beg your pardon?
It's hard to argue with that.
One more time?
It's very hard to argue with you, Chris.
All right.
Being the Don.
This is No Glove Lost in partnership with Dazn, and a rivalry of this magnitude demands a panel to match. We have Carl the Cobra Froch and George Groves, who had a sensational rivalry at super middleweight. We have family members directly from an iconic boxing dynasty, Harlem Eubank and Chris Eubank Sr. You can watch Eubank Jr versus Benn 2 live only on Dazn. Let's not mess around. Let's get straight into it. Fellas, after that incredible spectacle, do you want to see a rematch?
I'm up for watching a rematch, Wally. I'm up for watching a rematch, but part of me was like, it was so good, if you're Eubank, that you've had this magnificent win on the biggest of stages, with all the drama, and you've finally fought your now nemesis. How sweet would it be to just sail off into the sunset? Bit like what this fella done next to me. He had his big win at Wembley Stadium, threw the best punch of his career, and then he didn't retire in the ring there and then. He lingered about a little bit, and then when a mandatory came his way, he thought, I don't fancy that, and he retired. But what a sweet way to go out at the very top, Wally. It's incredible. And I thought, I've always been envious of you for that, Carl, and I've also proud of you for that. And I think, wow, that's what a joyous thing. Not many people can have a chance to do that. And maybe Eubank would have had that there and then, as he falls to his knees as his name gets announced in a fight that I felt he deserved to win, but was closer than maybe he thought it was going to be.
Gentlemen, it's a bit different for you. We talked about fathers and uncles and brothers and former opponents suffering serious problems and injuries from this sport. Are you happy that Chris has gone back into this?
I mean, for me, I thought the event, the spectacle that it was, all the variables that happened with the first occasion, my uncle turning up, unexpected.
Was it unexpected?
It was unexpected.
When did you make the decision to go, Chris?
Within every person living, there are two entities. There is the ego, and then you have your superconscious mind.
Right.
When you submit to it, it actually always wins. So it always overshadows the ego. So my ego was saying, no, I'm definitely not going to that fight. This is the first time I've been in any type of a situation where, one is to talk about this coming contest, because I can't talk anymore. Because whatever I say, whatever my ego says, the superconscious is laughing. It's like, yeah, you can say what you want, but you're going to do what I want you to do, because I always submit.
Cole, you feel the same?
Well, to answer the question on the fight, and I'm excited to watch it, do I want to watch it? Then yes, of course, the first fight was a very competitive, very entertaining spectacle or event. In terms of levels of professional boxing, because now it's been done and we've got the answer, Chris Eubank Jr has sealed the legacy of the Eubank name. He's done his father proud, he's done his name proud, and he's got the win. What else is there left to do with Conor Benn? For me, why do we need a rematch? Do we need a rematch? The people want the rematch, and the mathematics make. I mean, we're prize fighters. These are fighting for a living. Yeah. It's going to make money. It makes sense. Simple as that. But for me, the first fight did it and said it all. Yeah. It's going to be hard to top, but I still think these two coming together again for a second time will make for a great fight, and I'm looking forward to it, and I will watch it. But what's now at stake? Chris Eubank Jr. for me is. He's done what he needed to do. So he's towards the end of his career. Has he got any ambitions of becoming world champion? Does he want to go on and reign at the top and be a world champ? I don't think he can. I don't think he's good enough to reign. He's tried and failed. Conor Benn, I think he's still got a career after this fight. 28, 29 years old. He's still got title ambitions at 147, 2 weight divisions below where this fight's made. So now we've got the rematch. So now my question is, what's it for other than the money?
My question is, what's the cost? What is the cost to the individuals doing it. What is the cost? If we are responsible adults, again.
Yeah, but this is the fight game. So what's your point in terms of what's the cost? The cost, obviously, we can get injured. We're in a game where we don't call it a game. It's a fight, and you can go in there and you can get injured, and you can get an injury that which you're knowing too well. You might not walk away from, but that's what we sign up for. So what's the issue with that?
You know, what's the issue? Okay, I tell you what. I'm going to hold my tongue. I've said.
Do you have an issue with that, though? The rematch. Do you not want this to happen?
Again, okay, I've gone over it before now, and you know, there are people watching, there are children watching, there are communities watching. What are we teaching? Is it just about this? What about the standard bearing that we as fathers, as kings within the community, what is our responsibility? Isn't it to show them and to direct them? We have to keep to our word. You know, we are custodians of this great game, if you will. We're custodians. We have to carry ourselves in such a way which lifts and uplifts people. Otherwise, people are being starved of. They're being starved of equality. We've got to pull people into line, and you have to help me.
I agree with that.
You agree with it? Hold on.
But we're here to talk about the rematch, Eubank and Benn. So your opinion on it, based on what you're saying, do you want this fight to happen or not?
Okay, you're talking to me about that.
Because that's what we're here to discuss.
Again, you know, for 3 years I was saying to you that this fight shouldn't be because the weights are wrong. I said I'll never be proved wrong because I'm standing on the rules. So I've said all that I've had to say. It doesn't change. So I'm not going to go bleating on the same subject. You will see. There will be consequences. Wait. Dehydration is dangerous.
I totally understand your point, but the fighters don't think about the...
I'm not talking about them. I'm not talking about the fighters because no one's listening. I'm talking about the fighters who are watching these two fighters. Watch what happens. You know, these promoters who know nothing about
Well, we've already seen
art
it.
and
We've
craft
seen the first fight, though, and there was no issue. There was no issue.
You was not in the ambulance with my son.
Chris got through the fight. He won the fight.
He was touch and go in the ambulance. He was touch and go. And I'm saying to you, the public don't see that.
Well, this doesn't look good on you as the father allowing this to go ahead then, surely.
He's a grown man. He's 37.
Exactly.
No, he is.
He's
tried.
Go on. Listen to this.
You're here promoting the fight.
What can I do? I'm promoting it.
Yeah, promoting it. Of course you are. Having a conversation about it. This is going to go out. It's going to be fantastic to build the fight.
Fine. Okay.
If you feel so strongly about this fight in the weight division, which I
Yes.
think you should move on from, I think you should pass it. I honestly think you should embrace the rematch, get behind your son, and I think he's going to be fine.
I'm always behind my son.
He's going to be fine.
I'm always behind my son. What I will not be behind is the stupidity and the incompetence of these promoters who are flouting the rules in terms of weights, and this is how fighters end up disabled.
160-pound fighters do it all the time.
Wait. I think the sport's getting too safe, Wally.
Too safe.
Ways. We saw Joseph Parker get stopped last week when he could have gone out on his shield, right? Howard Foster, your mate,
Too safer.
jumped him and stopped the bout, right? World-class referee Howard Foster.
Old friend of yours,
Dude,
isn't he?
yeah, good friend of Carl's.
I do think Parker could have shown a bit more, held on, give something back. I know what you're saying, the stoppage looked like...
No. But, like, don't get me wrong.
But the
like,
safety's
it might
there.
be the right thing from the British Boxing Board of Control. And then they are very worried about safety, you know, and everything. I've recently done my trainer's course, and it's more about the safety element than actually teaching anyone to box. You know, they want to make sure that you fighters make weight properly, and you know everything's done properly. But Chris, he is fighting a middleweight. He wants to be a middleweight. He's fighting a middleweight. He's the one with the weight advantage because he's naturally the bigger guy. Now, don't get me wrong. I know. I've seen him, and I know what it is, and I know that he fights at the weight.
What you've just said is shameful. You know, to lose weight, that's where the damage. That's when the damage happens. When you get dehydrated, these people are forcing us to hurt ourselves. The point I'm making to you is this: do not speak that. That's nonsense. Junior coming down to 160 at 36 is madness. Okay, so, but we've said that. But don't speak the language of the promoters who do not know what they're talking about when it comes to boxing. You know boxing. And if you're gonna talk
I know. I've made weight. I've hurt someone permanently, badly, and it affected me.
So why are you saying?
It put an end. It put a timeline on the end of my career. I had an exit strategy after that fight before I'd even won a world title, Chris. I know the dangers of boxing just as well as you do, right? But the point is, when he was asked to get below middleweight, I feel you've got a point, yeah. But at this point, he's a grown man. He wants to do this weight. If it was a problem, he would move up.
Okay, Harlem, can I come in and ask you, because so much of the build-up to this fight, 2-3 years, was about Conor's period out of the sport because of a doping case, which he eventually won. I feel like we have all moved on from that. There's no point talking about it anymore. He's won his case. The evidence has not been presented to anyone. But in the Dazn face-off that they've just sat down and spoke through, it's something that Chris is going to keep hitting him with. Chris called him a drug cheat. And he said that the only thing that impressed him was that in those final championship rounds, when you have to go deep and dark, he said, cheaters, people who cheat, they can't usually go there. And he was impressed that Conor did. How do you feel about that?
I think that's what threw Junior off. I think he expected it to go a lot quicker than it did because he's cut corners in the past, because he's been caught with substances in his system. He thought that give would come about much earlier in the fight. I think this time he knows exactly what's in front of him. Conor last time had that element of surprise, and I don't think there's any surprises this time.
Wonderful. One man who will be at Tellus to expect any surprises is Sam Gilley, who has been in the Ben camp. How are you doing, Sam?
How you doing, mate? You all right?
Yes, not too bad, thank you. Listen, we've got an incredible panel here talking about this rematch, but you're someone who's right in the midst of it. I wonder what you've been picking up from in this camp and what you've seen.
Oh, listen, I've been sparring Conor for years, and one thing he's always been is incredibly fit and incredibly strong. He's got a very, very big right hand, but yeah, he trains so hard, and he just don't burn out either. Like I went to spar him a couple of weeks ago, and he done like an half an hour warm up, and like after that, then he's done sparring with me. Then he goes upstairs and he's doing more bag work. He's hooked up to like an oxygen machine. He's like an absolute lab rat in a minute. But yeah,
that's not ideal. How do you think this fight will play out? Because this should just be a boxing contest now. There is no family hatred. Yeah. Everyone's getting on all right. It should just be a boxing match, and the big man should beat the little man, or should the younger man beat the veteran?
No, I mean, I don't think the hatred's gone. But listen, at the end of the day, they put on such a great fight the first time. We'll get treated to it again. But I think Junior bringing in Bomac, and I don't think he's taking him lightly this time. I think he's going to be fully prepared. Like the best version of Junior that we see was when he had Bomac for the Liam Smith rematch, and he's brought him back in again. That shows how seriously he's taking this one. Obviously, he had the troubles with the weight in the last fight, so I think you're going to see a better Eubank this time. But from what I've seen of Conor, you're going to see a better Conor as well. So it's going to be an interesting one.
Thank you very much, Sam. Get back to that dog, mate. Look after him for me.
Cheers, nice one.
See you soon, mate. See you in fight week. Chris, I saw you instantly. I don't know if you were shaking your head or agreeing. Having Bomac back in camp, is that something that you're pleased with or disinterested in?
Less said, easier to mend.
Carl, what about you, mate? What do you think having Bomac in for this one means? Because he's, more or less the on-trend trainer at the minute.
I think it's a power play it's really good on the optics. So Conor Benn looks at that, and Conor Benn's team looks at that and goes, oh, he's got Bomac back. Like I said, that performance against Liam Smith in the rematch. So that will play a part. He's just had the amazing performance with Terence Crawford against Canelo. Mm-hmm. The world was watching, and it was a shutout performance. He's got him in the corner. So it looks good. But how much of a difference does that make? Not a great deal of difference. He has worked with him in the past, which is good news for Chris, because he's back with him. I don't think that Conor's going to be too worried about that. I think he's more concentrating on himself, which he should be, and what he needs to do. But yeah, it's nice to see. If Chris would have had the same trainer through the whole thing, I think Senior had Ronnie Davis through his whole career, I believe that was right. And I had Robert McCracken through my whole career. But it worked for me. My relationship with Robert McCracken was very, very close, very respectful. You've seen Karate Kid, Mr. Miyagi and Daniel LaRusso. He's Mr. Miyagi, I'm Daniel. I do what I'm told. He says paint the fence. Who's AJ? I paint the fence. Well, I think that was AJ's mistake, leaving Rob McCracken. But, you know, each to their own. And Chris Eubank Jr. is very much a man on his own mission. He used to come in the gym with me. He didn't say more than 2 words sometimes. And he used to give me a very good spar. Senior was there filming a lot of it. I've tapped him up for the footage, but he won't part with that footage.
Excuse me.
We had some great...
I am not a videographer.
No?
Okay, it wasn't me filming anything.
Was it not? Are you
sure?
No.
What I was doing was like, let me tell you what.
You had your phone in your hand and you had it on record, I'm sure.
You're talking to the king, man. No, kings don't do that.
No?
He might have had a new phone.
What was you doing? What was you doing? Was you looking at yourself?
Lee Cutler has been incredibly patient and kind.
Okay,
I know he needs to get back to sparring. Congratulations on a great fight with Eggington and an even better win over Stephen McKenna, mate. You and Chris Billam-Smith upsetting the odds as always. Talk to me what it's like sparring this current version of Chris Eubank Jr. because we've got a couple of fellas here who sparred him when he was a raw novice. We always heard his strengths where he would come in the gym, not talk to anyone, do his work and then leave. Is he a more affable fella now when you spar with him?
I've been sparring him since I was about 18 years old. And this camp, he's on form. I don't know if it's out there, but he's doing 4-minute rounds at the minute. 4-minute rounds, 30-second break. A couple of occasions, I've done all the rounds with him. A few times he's had other sparring partners that are jumping in, which you can't take too much from those spars because obviously I'm fresh and he's not. But he's looking fantastic. It's one of his best camps. So I sparred him in his last spar leading into the Liam Smith rematch, and I also sparred him for the first Liam Smith fight. And yeah, it's definitely one of his best camps. He's looking good. He's obviously taking it seriously. So yeah. I'm looking forward to the fight. Could I just get a prediction off of you before you go and be warned that I do have half the Eubank family in here looking at you? Yeah, I think you've got to go with the bigger man. He's taking it serious this time as well. But I've also heard good things coming out of the Conor Benn camp. Not that I've been involved, but a few pals through boxing that I know have watched him spar and stuff and sparred him. So... yeah, I've heard good things there, but you've got to go with a bigger, stronger man. Lee, you're a top man, son. Thank you very much for your time. Hopefully I'll see you in Fight Week at one of the events. Thank you, mate. Bye-bye. Harlem, the one thing that jumped out at me there was he said, and he's been in the Liam Smith camps and the Conor Benn camps, he's taking this one seriously. Do you think Chris underestimated Conor in the first fight? I think he underestimated Conor's will to win the fight and to continue through those moments that he knew he was going to pile the pressure on to Conor. And I think, like you say, he's proven to cut corners before, so he thought he would have had that give in him. And he put on a performance and showed he hasn't got give. He's willing to go until the end. Saying that, I feel like Conor, he fights on raw emotion, and that's his strength. And this time, I feel like he's talking like he's gonna not box with emotion, which I think will just, play into Junior's hands even more so. George, you seemed really cool in fights. And I remember you going into some press conferences without your trainer, without promoter, going on your own, doing a Rubik's Cube. Cole, you always seemed to be someone who thrived on needle. If Conor Benn is this highly emotive, raw fella who thrives on that, is it really clever for Chris to take that away and make it more of a cerebral event?
I think it's natural that once you've had the fight, your emotions slightly softened. But he's an emotional guy, Conor Benn. If that's what he puts out, that's what you feel. And I think he's always going to be that. And he has lost the first fight, and that's haunting him. I'd imagine he's certainly a man who comes across as uber ambitious and driven. And you had Sam Gilley there talking about how hard he's training. I bet a lot of that is driven from emotion. Whether there's as much hatred for Eubank as there was before. If there's less, that's better. I mean, this guy hated me in our first fight, and he managed to get that hatred under control and performed a lot better in the second one. Because you can't always fight with your emotions running loose. You know, boxing is physical, it's mental, but it's also emotional. It's highly emotional, especially at the top level, especially when there's a rivalry like this and the pressure that comes with it.
I think Chris is quite a cool guy. He's quite a composed character, and I think a lot of it's calculated, and he kind of knows what he's doing.
Wonder where he gets that from.
From my opinion, I don't think he's phased.
Yeah.
I don't know what he did as a child when he first got into boxing. I know he spent a bit of time in America, and he was maybe chucked into the lion's den a little bit and did a lot of good sparring. Like when he came to spar me, and I use that as an example because I've never had anybody turn up to spar me and just be so cool and confident and just get on with it and actually really throw the punches and try and not be phased and come back. Which for me is like, he's serious about the game, he's fit, he's strong, he's dedicated, he's missing the apprenticeship, if you like. Never boxed as an amateur, and I think he'd be a fantastic fighter if he had that behind him. Yeah. But he hasn't got that, neither has Conor. So in that sense, it's even. But I just think all the noise and the emotion and the psychology behind it all, I don't think it matters. When these two get in the ring, they're both going to be fit, strong, determined to win. I just think that now in the rematch, the second fight, because of Chris Eubank Jr.'s age and how hard the first fight was, and how his father has reinforced the weight cutting problem, I just think he won't be as good in the rematch. I might be proven wrong, I hope I am, but I don't think he can do that again to the level he did that, because he really finished strong with his foot on the pedal for the last 2 rounds, and I was very impressed with the way he did that final furlong. Yeah. Conor Benn will improve. He will learn from that. He's 28 years old. He'll grow, he'll improve. When you're at the age that Eubank Jr is, you don't get better. From my experience, you get a bit slower. The training becomes a bit harder. Yep. The desire, you know what I mean? It's just harder when you're older, because we're governed by age. You know, time waits for no man. So I think the older Chris is probably going to struggle a little bit more than what Conor will do.
Chris, if I can push my luck and ask you to take out your moral and even parental stance to this fight, what advice have you or will you be giving Chris Jr. going into this for the boxing?
Again, it may sound self-effacing, but I promise you it's not. I'm not egotistical like that. I'm just not built that way. And that's been seen right away through all my interviews, never mind fights. Okay, let me talk to you about the hatred. That's not coming from either of them. This is the promoter. Barry Hearn's son, the hatred is in him. It's not the boys. My son couldn't care less. All he's looking at is money. And that's fine, I understand that. Hatred? No. Junior isn't built that way. He wouldn't be, because I'm not built that way. Conor, you know, is an extraordinary young man for how deeply he loves his father, his dad. You know, that's an astounding stand-up way to be for every young man. You know, and I say to young men, watch that. You know, it's a beautiful thing. The hatred is coming from the promoter. You know, keep an eye on this person, because I'm telling you, he's going to do damage to us warriors. And I don't think, I know we have to put a curb on him. And I don't ask the Boxing Board of Control to do it, because they are already, it seems to me, what they are, the journalists.
Why do you think there was a press conference a little while ago where Chris took aim at almost all the promoters? I think he used the word scumbags. I think there was a retraction.
It wasn't scumbucket, you mean, you said?
I believe it was scumbag.
I thought it was buckets.
Bucket. No, I think it was bag.
Okay, go ahead.
I think it was bag.
It was bag, wasn't it?
Bag, bucket.
I prefer bucket, if anything.
Splitting hairs, aren't we?
Do you, and maybe Harlem as well, it does seem that his hatred is for Eddie more than the other chaps. Do you know why? Has there been something specific? Or was it just the way that this first fight was built up and what went on behind the scenes?
There's no hatred, really. There's none in my son. He doesn't work that way. If it makes money, it makes sense. If it doesn't make money, it does not make sense. This is the way he's built. And this incessant desire to actually, you know, be out front with this riding on the back. Okay, I shouldn't say that. I'm trying not to get controversial. I'm not trying to put mud on anybody, but these people have to be watched, okay? You know, you spoke something a little earlier, which is the exact same thing that the promoter was saying, that, you know, it's like the one who's coming up is in a more difficult position. That is nonsense. It's the man coming down who's having to lose weight. You know,
maybe I confused the point. I know that, Chris.
Oh, hold on. Let me finish my point, okay? We need protecting. From who? From the guys who are pitting us against each other.
Can I ask you, do you think your son's a super middleweight? 168?
Oh, absolutely.
So, at his age, do you think he can go on and win a world title at 168?
Again,
Canelo and Crawford have just boxed, so there's two fighters.
I'm not even going to get into that.
Yeah, but earlier you talked about being a Don or being a top of the game and being elite at the level. So you talked about that earlier, about being the Don and being the pinnacle of your game and being at the top of the echelon of being a top super middleweight for Chris Eubank. I mean, if he wants to achieve...
For
Junior, yeah.
No, I wasn't speaking about Junior.
Do you think he'll ever be... Is he ambitious to win a world title? Does he want to win a world title?
Excuse me.
Well, my question's going to be then, at what weight? So you think he's a super middleweight? Because you don't seem to be able to...
I don't think.
You don't seem to... I don't think he's big enough for super middleweight. I don't think he is.
I know.
I disagree.
And if I was speaking about a Don, you talk, this is the king here.
Hard to argue against that.
I beg your pardon?
It's hard to argue with that.
One more time?
It's very hard to argue with you, Chris.
All right.
The Don.
Harlem, being a welterweight, and obviously 154 as well, can you think of anything Conor can do differently in this fight? Because I think of Chris as someone who was a ferocious pressure fighter early on. Then there was a period where he was working with Roy Jones Jr., a bit more back foot. So whether that was successful or not, we have seen at least two levels to how Chris can fight. And I think we've only seen one way that Conor can fight. So what can Conor do differently to overturn the decision from the first one?
I think Conor's 154. He's been fighting there for the last 3 years. With Junior, he's been boxing at 160, but the rehydration takes a lot out of you. And we see that during the fight. You know, he was catching Conor with shots in the later half of the fight, but didn't have anything behind it because his energy was zapped. And he was after laying in hospital suffering from severe dehydration, which can't be overlooked. You know, when you're asking my uncle about what he thinks about the next fight, I don't see much that Conor can do differently. He fights the way he fights. The element of surprise is what he had behind him last time. I think he's going to come and do pretty much the same thing. It's what version of Chris we see now, I believe. And, you know, I feel like Conor got his respect last time. So I'm excited to see a different version of Chris this time.
One thing that pops up there, and it may be like boxing nerdy for me, 4-minute rounds in sparring. I don't hear about that too often these days. Is that going to help? Is that going to tire him out? Is that a rare thing?
I've done that for a little bit, 4-minute rounds. And I went out to spar Golovkin, who did 4-minute rounds.
How did you get on with that?
Golovkin?
Sparring, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I've told that story. You've not heard it yet?
No.
He broke my rib. He broke me. I'd bust me up.
You was meant to wear the rib pad, no?
Sent him home injured.
Yeah, it was like a month after I boxed this fella, so I was a bit, a bit depressed. But they said, "Do you want to come out for a bit of sparring?" I said,
A month after which fight? First or second?
Second one.
Oof.
Yeah, second one.
Yeah.
The genuine lost one.
Yeah.
Golovkin, he's like a week out from the fight, and I'm sort of fat and out of shape, and I'm in Big Bear, California, and we climbed a mountain, and I got sunburnt. I came down the bottom of the hill, and I was like, I'm jumping in the ring with Golovkin. I don't care. I'll test myself out of shape. And I go in the gym, and Abel Sanchez was his coach, and they used to wear this little body armour thing, like a little plastic, I think it's American football rib protector. And he said, "Do you want one?" I was like, "No. They show weakness. Not in this gym, Chris," right? So he goes, "Gennady wears one, it's fine." I was like, no, slow me down, don't want it. Sparred the first day, got through it fine. 4-minute rounds, heat run in the gym, summertime, 90 degrees, gassed, right? I was like, right, I'm coming back Monday and I'm on it. Yeah. So I come back Monday and I'm on it. Now the sun, I put sun cream on, or I've stayed out the sun. I haven't had a beer on lunch. I've had proper breakfast, sharp at the gym, ready to go. Do you want the body protector? Absolutely not. Get about 2.5 rounds in. hear a loud crack. Broke the rib. Go back to the corner. They're like, you okay? I said, oh, he broke my rib. So, okay, jump out. I was like, no, I can't jump out. It's like, you're fat and out of shape.
And sunburn.
Like, you're not boxing, you're sunburned, you're in a mess. That'll do. I said, all right, cool. Ambulance, please.
So thank you for that, because that testimony, this is what you need to preach so you can teach, because this is far more entertaining than, oh, I did this and I did that. The hardship is what the people want to know. I want to know about the hardship. You know, I love that story.
I'll tell you, I've got plenty of stories. We won't bore everyone with them today. But
they are not boring.
No, but there's, yeah, okay, thank you.
They are
You want
not
to tell them
boring.
about the time I dropped you
hardship.
in sparring? No.
Yeah.
Tell them about that bit.
That was at Sheffield, wasn't it?
I'm joking.
No, yeah, I went up to Sheffield.
He got me back, though. He got me back in the rematch at my amateur gym, and he perforated my eardrum about a week before the Kessler fight, and I was really upset about that.
Yeah, so, but you do.
We've had a bit of rivalry, me and George. We've had a bit of rivalry.
Boxing is about suffering, and yeah, you know, it comes to a point where you do. And I started the show, Chris, by saying, how wonderful would it have been if Junior sailed off into the sunset after his magnificent win. But he's lent in, he wants to go again. You're right. Who can police this? Who can advise? Because you're like, with all due respect, you're his dad, and you can't do anything about it.
No, I can't.
So what can anyone else do about anyone? Nothing can be done.
But what can be done is the people who are watching, because, you know, my words will not come back to me void. I know what I'm talking about, and so I'm trying to say little. Let me just say this: what you just explained. Explain more about that, because that's what builds fighters, so they know this is not a game. Suffering is glory. You know, that's how you become, and that's why we are looked up by all members of the community. We are loved by the men who are in prisons. We are loved by the white-collar guys in politics. We are loved from the pit to the top. That's why we should be making it so that people see us as gentlemen. Normal people can't do this. They say we're crazy. They say I'm crazy, or boxers are crazy to do that. Yes, normal people can't do what we do. That's why we are the standard bearers.
Fellas,
Okay.
can I just ask you now? So we're in fight week.
Right? All right.
Chris has the win on his record, but he's boiling down. Conor wants revenge. He's fueling up as much as he wants. These media events, some people will say they're meaningless. Some people will say 80% of the fight is won before the bell goes. What's going on this week in their heads?
I think because they've already fought and they've sort of ironed out any mental sort of fragility in the build-up, they both know they can hurt each other. They both know they can do 12 rounds at a pace. And now it's final tweaks. I think they'll both be confident coming into this fight. I know Chris has got his reservations about the weight. If Junior was that concerned about fighting at 160, then don't take the fight. Don't sign the contract. Don't agree to fight at 160. Don't agree to the rehydration clause. He's agreed to it because he's getting paid well and he thinks he can win the fight like he did in the first one. So I'd hate for that to be a stopping point for Senior, who I've got massive amounts of respect for, because I wouldn't want that to just be the talking point because he should enjoy this fight in the rematch and enjoy what his son's achieving, because he probably won't go on to win a world title. And that's not in a disrespectful way. He's not got the apprenticeship in the amateurs. Chris probably won't become a world champion, but he's made an amount of money that most world champions that have become world champions and probably not made the money would be envious of, which is phenomenal. So he's capitalised on the name and he's done very well.
Carl,
Trying to get across to him.
you've got to leave. You've got to leave in any
That's
minute
all
now
good.
to go and speak to Jake Paul's agent about the big fight.
Yeah, the big fight with Jake Paul.
Give me your prediction for this fight, please, before you go.
This fight's going to be very, very close, like I said earlier. I think Conor's
What
going
other
to.
sort of prediction was you going to give then?
Connor's going to be better. I've got so many ways of sort of deflecting from the prediction.
Go on then, yeah.
I can see Conor Benn. I can see how Conor Benn wins this fight. I can see how he wins it, but I can't get past the size. Chris has got the size advantage. He's the bigger man. I've sparred with him. I've sparred with 147 fighters. I've sparred with 154 fighters. I don't think they're big enough. I don't think they're strong enough to cope with me. Eubank Jr could cope with me. I know he's tough and strong. The one thing he's inherited from his dad is his toughness. I see the way he kept coming when Cole Thompson just unloaded on him. He's no quitting him. He kept coming. I mean, if people watching this, the younger generation, have never seen Chris Eubank Sr fight, go and have a look at some of his fights, because one thing his son's inherited from is that toughness. So that's going nowhere. I think Chris will be just fine. I don't think you need to worry. You're making a massive point that I kind of agree with, but we are where we are.
Do you have children?
Chris, I think I've got 3 children. Yeah.
You have 3 children.
Yeah.
Okay. So when your son is in this position, see what view you have then, knowing these people who are.
My son won't be in this position because he plays golf. He plays golf.
These promoters are. These promoters.
I know what you're saying. You've made your point a few times. You can't make it any more clearer. Chris Eubank, size-wise, slight favourite, even closer slight favourite than the first time. I just think he's probably got that edge. But listen, on the Froch I'm Fighting pre-fight prediction, best channel in the business, that will get cut off, right? I'm probably going to pick Conor Benn. Because I think the youngness and the freshness and what he learned from the first fight will be enough. I'm going to let Chris speak now.
George?
I think Conor Benn. There's more for him to gain. Avenge a loss. Eubank Jr. got a lot sort of wrong in the first one, and he tried to fight too many people. He took on too much. Maybe that's different. And going back with Bomac is, a spanner in the works in many regards. But maybe that win against Liam Smith was flattering because Liam Smith was sort of not fit. You can't talk about, I can see how you're thinking. Eubank could go in there and mix it with me, and I can't comprehend how Conor Benn could do that. It's a tiny little welterweight, but he went and did it with Eubank last time. They rocked it out. It's going to be, if we talk about real fights, it's like who gets out first and executes their game plan, right? Who gets out and establishes their jab, controls the distance, gets their rhythm going, settles into the fight, and then what is most importantly, once you settle into the fight, is in that flow state where they're not burning up energy, because neither guy really got settled before it ended up being just a dogfight, and then it was whoever could last longer. So there could be that element to it, and maybe with Bomac, Eubank comes out, does what he needs to do, keeps his head back, long with a jab, creates the right distance, lands a few shots on Conor, stops him from bounding around. But if it don't go that way, Conor catches him with the right hand, finds his distance. I think if you're thinking about who wants it more, I think it's Conor Benn this time.
Harlem, 2-0 down.
I can't see anything other than Chris Eubank Jr. stoppage. He's fully focused. I've seen what he done, how he trained, how he applied himself for the Liam Smith rematch. And again, it's more of the same. When Junior's prepared for what's in front of him, you see a completely different guy. And that's the one that I'm expecting to see this time around.
Senior, my insane producers are asking me for a one-word prediction from you. I can't see it happening, but I'll try. Perfect. Even less. Right, chaps, that is the final bell for this version of No Glove Lost. Massive thanks to George Groves, Carl the Cobra Froch, Harlem Eubank, and the British boxing legend that is Chris Eubank Sr. You can watch Eubank Jr versus Benn 2 live only on Dazn. Drop your predictions in the comments, who wins and how. Stay with Sunsport for all the Fight Week buzz and catch all the post-fight fallout on Split Decision next week.